So, welcome to the State of VR and AR panel. I'm going to ask each of the panelists firstly to introduce themselves. Just to give you a very brief introduction of myself, I'm a developer and a consultant. I've been in the industry for about 9 years, based in the UK, work mainly in mobile games, so I'm very interested to see what these guys are doing in the VR space. But I'll hand over. Have you guys got mics? Somebody wants to introduce themselves?
Ooh.
Yes.
Hello. You want to start?
Well, I can begin. My name is Olli Sinerma. I'm the chairman of FIVR and also one of the co-founders of Mindfield Games, which Jaakko was just giving a presentation about. What else? Nothing more to add. The next guy.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Thor. I'm the CEO of Nordic Trolls and VP Europe for Magical World. Both are Chinese companies based in Beijing, and we focus almost fully on anything that has to do with VR.
I've got one, please.
I'm Kevin Joyce, the CEO and editor of VR Focus. We are a VR specialist publication targeting consumer audience.
Hello, I'm Juhana Kotilainen. I'm the president of Silvermile Entertainment, the creator of Fluffy Fish VR game.
Hello, my name is Sampo Lappalainen. I'm the COO of Umbra. We build technology for basically anyone who's working on 3D apps. We are most well known for our contribution in AAA games, where about 50% of the games, the top games today, use our technology.
Great, thanks guys. So we've had some really good talks already, so I'm happy for anyone from the audience to ask questions at any point. I've got loads here, so I can fill the whole half hour, but if anybody does have any questions, just put your hand up. So I'm just going to dive right in. Mass market adoption and customers is obviously a really big challenge at the moment. How long is it going to be until it becomes a market that can generate sustainable revenues, or are we already there? Are any of you doing that already?
Well, at the moment, the problem, I think, is on the consumer side, because on the business-to-business side, there is a lot of revenue to be made. You can do a lot of third-party, you can do a lot of advertisement, you can have customers about everywhere at the moment. The only issue is that the paying customers, especially on, for, say, gaming side, is a small market. People don't yet have, let's say, money for the €2,000 computer, the €1,000 Vive headset, and 200,000 apartment that you need to fit the thing into. So that's the big issue at the moment. How long is it going to take? I'd say a couple of years, and then it will be huge. That's what everybody says.
From my perspective, we see that VR is already kind of similar to mobile in that there's a couple of standout titles that are making revenues, that are making profit for the developers, but there are very few of those. There was a talk this morning where, on the Solus project talk, where the gentleman on the stage said that there was only about 50 titles in VR. That is wildly inaccurate. On Steam, there's about 350 games already, but most of them are just tech demos that you pay $4 for, and no one's ever going to make money out of doing that. They need to be big, high-profile releases. I think one of the most successful ones is Space Pirate Trainer, which is just a wave shooter. It's not a bad one, but there's lots of them out there. But they're doing very well because they got in early and they made a name for themselves and they built a community. And there's very few of them that are actually, very few games that are actually able to do that to keep people coming back. And it's the same situation as with the Wii, where this person will play and get very much into it and then show it to their friends, and then they'll get into it, and that's the only way the game's making money at the moment in VR.
Yeah, exactly. Like the guys said, that like consumer side is pretty tough. So basically, there's just not enough people who can buy the games. But though, like the B2B side is really interesting as well, because everybody really needs the content. The manufacturer have invested so much money into it, so they just need games. They can't really sell the game, like the devices, without the games. So that's really, I think that's one of the biggest markets right now. As well, Google is coming in, Apple is coming in, and so on. So it might be growing faster than the 2 years, I hope. Like I'm saying that like there's gonna happen already this Christmas. A lot of things is gonna grow, but again, like then we move forward. I think like a year or two. It's going to be a massive business. I think it's one of the biggest technology businesses already, or at least people have been investing to it so much that like the adaptation must be coming because everybody are doing, and the main thing is that people are so excited about it that, like I am myself, so it will come, of course. And
I'm going to have to side with Olli on this one, actually, as I don't think that we have the device out yet, which is the device that the mass market will adopt, truly, because I guess Gear VR is closest to that right now, as you can basically just plug in your phone into it. But on the high-end side, Oculus and Vive, I just don't see them going into the mass market. Something like VR arcades might make VR more widely adopted to the average user. But as for something that people would buy for their homes, I don't see that the current devices are there yet.
Right, so I will talk a little bit about it from the Chinese point of view. Pretty much agree that there's no big revenue to be made yet in the consumer market, at least the regular consumer market where we have people with hardware at home. So what we're doing back there is basically reviving the old arcade halls. So we're bringing online several thousand, not only our company, but many companies are bringing out there several thousands arcade halls where people can go there, experience short bursts of VR, pay a little bit of money for it, and that seems to be the way to go right now.
Yeah, I also agree with the VR case that is going to be the way people experience virtual reality nowadays. And when I say when it's going to be in 2 years, what I'm talking about is the phase when everybody in this audience, you won't be looking at your cell phones while this dude is talking on the stage. You will be sitting there with something on your face, totally immersed into this discussion we are having on your home sofa. That is what I'm looking for. That is 2 years.
So, a couple you mentioned, obviously, funding, particularly from B2B. How difficult is it to get funding at the moment? If you were a developer starting out now and wanting to do VR or AR, is there lots of opportunity for funding? And, what are investors looking for primarily?
So we just raised an angel round, and based on our own experiences and also the experiences of other companies, we see that investment money and also risk-willing investment money, especially in Asia, is really there. In all other sectors of gaming, it's almost completely dried up. I would be surprised if I heard about anyone being able to raise any money anymore for mobile gaming in China. But the money is definitely there for VR and AR.
Yeah, China is definitely the place to go if you are looking for money in VR. United States, it's a bit of like inner market. Yeah, they are giving money for virtual reality, but if your company is based in Silicon Valley or San Francisco, we Europeans, we have our own troubles at the moment, so not much money about here. But I'd say also on the mobile gaming market, there has been a couple of big news in Finland lately about $5 million raised rounds and such. But the case has been that they also need something to go with it, like, say, esports or some other angle than just going with we are doing a free-to-play mobile game.
Not a week goes by where we don't report on someone raising $10 million. Investment money is easy to come by if you've got the right idea. I agree that American investment money is, you've got to be friends, you've got to be based in Silicon Valley, 2 miles down the road from the people you're taking the money from. And a lot of it is based around incubators and VC organizations, whereas from China, as long as you've got an idea and something that has a long-term plan, it's fairly easy to raise money still.
Yeah, exactly. To be honest, I think it's the place where people should be investing. It's the biggest technology right now coming up, so all the VCs should be looking into as well. And as we discussed with the guys before, that even the Chinese government is investing. And same thing with the Finnish government, they should be investing heavily to that, because a lot of things are moving from mobile to VR. And I think it's way much easier to raise money, of course, for VR, but you need the right ideas for it. You need the business model, and you need the background so you can market it, make a good product, so it makes sense for everybody. But as said, it's not like it's an investment to long term, as you can't get the return of the investment back right away. But it's a good place to invest, definitely, in my opinion.
Yeah, I can't really comment on the video game development side of things, but as for technology, I think that there is currently a lot of money out there, and the big companies particularly are looking to sort of like build their VR and AR portfolios, so to speak. So they're trying to figure out what is the killer app and what is the killer platform in the future, in 2 years or 5 years time. And right now they are figuring that out. And that means that there is currently like lots of investments into wild technology ideas. But that said, I think that simply ideas won't carry very far. You still need something concrete, something tangible, something more than just an idea.
And also one thing to add about the investments in VR is usually when you go to an investor meeting and then they ask, so who are your competitors? Virtual reality is the only area where you can say no one, and that is a good thing.
Anybody got any questions yet? Okay. What about non-games markets? So obviously, you know, there's a lot of research going into the use of VR and AR in other sectors. What are the most interesting ones for you? And are you guys looking at any of those, or are there any other game developers you know of that are actually looking outside of the industry at the moment?
For us, non-games markets are actually our primary focus right now. As we have our video games business, which is running well, but I think the growth, as Olli actually said, that it's the B2B where the adoption is going to happen first. So in VR, AR, and otherwise in 3D as well, for us, it's industries such as like architecture, construction, automotive, navigation, things like these that will see fast adoption of these new technologies.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that one. We are also looking at another aspect, and that is when it comes to education. I mean, the possibilities in education is virtually limitless when it comes to what you can do in VR. We all know that the way of learning, the way we learn best is by doing, and having a textbook and reading from a textbook and looking at pretty pictures doesn't give you all that understanding very quickly. But picture yourself, you're going to learn about, let's say, dinosaurs. In VR, you're put into a prehistoric jungle, you walk around, you listen to the sounds, etc., and then suddenly you hear the heavy footsteps of the T-Rex approaching, boom, boom, and he's right there, he's next to you, and you look up, and oh my God, he's huge, he's humongous. You don't get that feeling from just reading a book, but in VR you can do these kind of things, and it's gonna stick in your mind. So that's also something I believe is gonna come very quickly.
Exactly the same. Sorry, I'm looking forward to go to Harvard on VR as well and learn there what's going to happening there all the time. But as well, I think it's going to connect all these things that people can actually go to virtual universities and get universal education. Of course, there's the dangers of that as well in a way, but.
So again, these things are already happening. I agree totally on the enterprise side. We're already seeing that happening with, as you say, architecture and in education. I agree that education is, for exactly the same reasons you've said. Since I started in VR, that was one of the most exciting areas for me. But it's already in healthcare and military and any industry that has even the vaguest interest in it has pushed hard. And yeah, VR is easy to come by in any industry.
Yeah, it's well, we have been called like the gaming platform because, of course, gamers are the guys who are buying all these new peripherals, and they are the guys that first test out how does eValkyrie feel in VR. And so, but eventually, I think that games will be, say, a quarter of the whole market or something like that. It's not a huge part of the pie, but it's a really important part because that is the one that gives us the runway to go towards virtual reality. Besides of being educational platform, tourism platform, social platform, so multiple different possibilities that VR currently has, there is also almost the elephant in the room of what is the most successful VR thing that is going to happen in next months or years. Adult entertainment.
As well, the games, like if I go back to the like early smartphone times, like Angry Birds was selling the devices, so we got some stats directly from the manufacturers that okay, this phone sells better with Angry Birds. So basically, going back to that, like this kind of games and the IPs, they will be the driver of the market to sell the devices because it's something exciting. Entertainment is easy, casual, fun, and it's for everybody as well. So when more niche things, they are not so, let's say, sellable things. So I think games are one of the biggest driver of the whole market, definitely. So.
Yeah, and also like to add about games that games have over and over again, they have proved that they are really like driving the technological advances of the like interactive entertainment and particularly 3D. So I believe that the games will keep that role. Games will bring the advances in the sort of like the research side of things.
So we've talked a bit about kind of the challenges of B2C and mass market, and the previous talk talked a lot about player role and the challenges with that. What other challenges are there at the moment for games to go out to the consumers? What other challenges are you guys facing? Nothing? That would be great.
Yeah, making games for virtual reality, super easy, no problems whatsoever. You just take your generic 3D game and import it into game and everything goes fine. Just publish it. No issues whatsoever. No, really, to be frank, it's Jaakko just gave a huge lecture on things that you need to know when making virtual reality content. One of the interesting things I think about making games for VR is that all the things you learn while making a game for VR, they actually work for everything in virtual reality. When you make a video game for VR, you know how to make software for it. It gives exactly the same learnings about motion sickness, user interface, whatnot, and even software that you use to develop it.
I think for us the biggest challenge right now is that even the two top game engines out there is not really ready for VR. Sorry if anyone is here from Unity and Unreal, but there's a lot of things we cannot do, and there is a lot of old thinking. To make one example, I mean, a lot of the stuff we have done for 3D on a flat screen, we cannot do in VR. And the best example here is parallax mapping. Put parallax mapping into your game, you're almost guaranteed to make people sick. And then you can start talking about, well, what's the reason for that? It gives greater depth in like ground textures and bricks and walls and stuff like that. Well, maybe your mind just don't want to accept it. In VR, it has to be real. You have to build it the whole way, which is going to make NVIDIA laugh all the way to the bank the next 10 years because of hardware coming out.
So about 2.5 years ago, Oculus, during the DK1 days, released a white paper stating all the things you cannot do in VR in order to avoid simulation sickness. And over the last 2 years, all of them have been proven wrong. Someone has found a cure for whatever Oculus said was not possible. It was simple things like when someone gets close to a wall in a room, you can't stop their head moving, you have to let them just pass through the wall. Well, developers have discovered clever techniques such as when they do approach a wall, just fade the screen slowly to black. Rather than going through and let them see the wireframe and what's going on behind, just come up with techniques to avoid that while not making the player sick. And not making your audience sick is pretty important.
Yeah, I think on the mobile side, it's a lot about the performance side and the resolution of the screen, because that's not there yet, and things don't look that good yet. So the guys need to improve a lot on that side for me to see it as a very high quality product. And device side is definitely there. A lot to be done there to make it more quality. And of course, I have an iPhone and I can't use it. So that's a quite big problem for me right now. So, getting all the new devices in and making those better is one of the big difficulties.
Yeah, so we are a tools company, software and tools company. So our job is to eliminate the problems, or at least some of them. So that's what we are trying to do. And our focus is on the performance side. So we try to sort of bridge the gap between the sort of regular video games and VR video games to bring the performance up there, but also to improve the workflow getting the required performance in a VR app requires a lot of like manual work, how to optimize the 3D itself to really run fast enough on Gear VR, for instance. So we try to help there to automate part of that.
So I think I want to make one advice based on what Kevin brought up, and that is what was true yesterday is changing today, and is not necessarily true for tomorrow. We see that things are changing very, very quickly. Things that we were told couldn't be done can now be done. And I'm seeing that also all the collaboration we see between game companies is really helping to push things forward quickly. So I hope, guys, that we can all continue to share ideas and best practices.
If you were a startup now, you know, starting your first company, would you be looking at VR or AR, and what would your advice be to them?
Well, that's an interesting question in many ways. It's really hard to say, in fact. I'd say that look for the long run. Don't expect to make money in the next 6 months, 30 years. In the next 6 months, plan ahead. Think beyond like the normal software. Nobody has yet uncracked this is the golden piece of virtual reality. What's it going to be? For example, tilt brushes, ingenious software, and it was something that was not possible before virtual reality. I wouldn't consider Windows Paint the same thing. I may have something else, but let's put the other guys on the road.
So would I do VR? Yeah, absolutely. But that's probably because I'm just super passionate about it. And advice would be to look carefully at the platform you're aiming for and the amount of players that it currently has in VR, and scale your game ambitions and your budget accordingly. Don't go big yet. You know, do small gameplay experiences instead is more than good enough at the moment.
Given that I'm a journalist and have never made a game in my life, I probably wouldn't start a VR company up. In terms of advice, again, coming from a journalist perspective, you can make the best game in the world, but if nobody knows about it, you're not going to do anything. So talk to people, get your game out there, show it to people, go to events like this, and pull up a little table, take a laptop with you and a headset, and just get people to play it, get people to see it.
Business-wise, I would say that it's good to focus right now on the mass market products, because that's something that's going to sell the devices as well. And it's good to focus on the building up the IP right now, because there's not that much competition as well. You put the word VR after something, it gets more attention, and the communication is interesting. So it's good to use the hype and the partnership possibilities to drive your product and your game forward for the future in the long run. But yeah, there's not much revenue right now. But then again, like there will be soon.
And I would say that as the market is so immature right now, it's pretty easy to become the best in the world in something. Like, so my suggestion would be to pick something like really difficult problem that there is in VR or AR and solve that and become the best in the world in that. And likely that's going to be a big thing for in the future. And then also you have to also play the long game. So you have to have the funds to sort of like wait for the market to mature.
Yeah, from Juhana's talk, I got the idea that IP, I would probably expand it. That is what I would recommend, because if we look at virtual reality games that have been published this far, or products, there's one that is actually pretty successful called Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes. And where did the success come from? They used virtual reality as a way to tell people how you're playing the game. If you guys don't know what the game is, it's about defusing bombs, where one is seeing the bomb in a virtual reality and the other one is telling you how you defuse it. But the game also works on iPad, it works on PC. There is instantly some virality in it because I need 2 players to play it. All these kind of ingenious ideas, when you incorporate it together, there you start to get your, what I was talking, the golden egg, hen, goose, whatever. Thanks.
Any questions from anyone? Okay, I've only got 2 more and then I think we'll have to wrap up. Predictions, 10 years' time, what's VR and AR going to look like? I'm going to write them all down and come back in 10 years.
I could start. I'm a firm believer of the so-called metaverse, a concept of metaverse. So like virtual and real environments combining into one, and everything basically going virtual, like working, social interactions, and everything basically. And I really do think that that's going to happen, and really big companies are also betting into that as well. And I think the Facebook acquisition of Oculus is a testament to that. And I think Facebook is in a great position to make that reality as well, at least on the social angle.
Right, I'm going to start that with a question to the audience. How many here could live without their mobile? All right, no one. Wow.
Oh,
One person. Okay, so for me, 10 years from now, VR and AR is going to be what mobile is today. You can't live without it.
Definitely, and that is something I was thinking is going to happen in 2 or 3 years already, so probably I need to go even further with what I'm thinking about. So let's go with an idea that in 10 years you will have their social Facebook in virtual reality, where most of the users are actual humans and the others are NPCs, but you cannot recognize them. And it will be called life.
I think it's going to be definitely one of the biggest technology things in the world right now, and it's going to affect our lives, our kids, everybody, a lot more than we can even think about right now. And even like, think about it, like sometimes I get a little bit scared because it's as well a way to affect in your brain in many ways. So there's as well big risk involved and a lot of good things. I think it's going to be the best way for people to learn new things and make the future. I see it as one of the future, another world that can make everything possible. It's pretty cool.
I think in 10 years, AR and VR will converge, so you have one headset that does both. Either a shutter comes down and you get projection on rather than a screen, or someone will have solved that problem and it'll be one headset that can do both. I don't believe the metaverse is going to be here in 10 years. I love the idea of it, but I think we're talking more 25, 30 until you've got a believable space that people can exist in. I think, to be frank, because it's such a huge change for us, I don't think that our generation are ready for it. I think it's going to be the generation that follows us that builds the metaverse.
Okay, last question. What's the best game you've ever played in VR or AR? And you can't say your own games.
Okay, so it's several games, but I just pick one of the recent ones. Fancy Skiing. Also called fantasy skiing, I believe. It's not really that much of a game right now. It's more like an experience. So you're up high in the hill. You have your skis and you're setting out downhill. And you can decide the speed you're gonna have, and you can go really, really fast, avoid some obstacles. But then suddenly, again, you're up in the mountain. What does mountain have? Cliffs. And woo, you go. And it's like free fall for 5 seconds, and you really feel it. And still today, I played it a lot. When I land, I fall forwards. I have to have someone there to help me play this game.
I'll go with a bit older one. This is DK1 time, when we don't have head tracking or we don't have any motion controllers. It's a classic called Keep Talking and Nobody... no, that's a different game. Sorry. Don't Let Go. It's like all these games have some kind of like these sort of names, but in Don't Let Go, the idea is that you are holding your fingers on the control buttons on the keyboard, and you are seeing a 3D model of yourself holding the same control buttons, and then spiders start to crawl on your hands, and knives start to chop on your hands, and all of that. And that is a brain mess. It was fun.
I'm going to cheat and not name a game, and not even an experience really, but HoloLens as a device, I guess that was the most recent sort of like magical experience, that you get these holograms like really well tracked in the environment, 3D objects in the real environment, and that was simply a very, very strong experience to me, seeing that.
So having ragged on tech demos earlier, I'm going to pick a tech demo. It's Bullet Train, Epic Games' Oculus Touch tech demo. It basically makes you feel like a badass for 4 minutes. You're invincible, you've got hundreds of guards trying to shoot you, and you're just lobbing grenades around and picking guns up, shooting out all the ammo until they're running out, then throwing the gun at the enemy as well, and yeah, that's awesome. And the other one I'd say is probably my favorite is Vanishing Realms for the Vive. It's been created by the guy who did the audio for the Half-Life series, ex-Valve employee, and it's basically Elder Scrolls in VR. It's amazing.
This is not one of the best games there is, but I like bright colors and colorful things, so Lucky's Tale is like nice for me. But it's mainly because of the cartoony character and the colors, and so I want to go back to the Nintendo world myself, like in a real world. I want to live there myself. So.
Right, we're going to wrap it up there. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.